Hey, this is Matt. Once again, what about to end of the video? This is another paid request. This time for Ben. And again, for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the film Hellboy from 2004. Film directed by Guillermo del Toro, starring Ron Perlman. You also have John Hurt. You have Selma Blair. You have quite a few solid actors in this. Even David Hyde Pierce as the voice, and then the physical actor was, I believe, Dud Jones. Which that character of Abe was kind of a precursor, I would say, to The Shape of Water that Del Toro would do later on. So then, I mean, maybe Del Toro wasn't thinking that at first, but you know, maybe later on he did. I don't know for sure. Now here's the thing: I didn't know squat about Hellboy the comic. Never, I still to this day never read an issue. But I'm okay. I like this director, and the point I love Blade 2. It's my favorite Del Toro film. I really do like Mimic. They did with Mira Sorvino. So those two films alone, I'm curious to see what this guy does next. And he cast Ron Perlman, who I do think is a good actor. I don't agree with some of his seemingly insane ramblings of late, his meltdowns over certain issues. I don't know if he needs some type of medicine, some type of therapy, I don't know, but I do like him as an actor. I thought he did a great job as the Hellboy character. He's one of the reasons why I do enjoy the film. And I like Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, as well. Would have been nice to see a third film, but it is what it is. And the setup is pretty much in World War II, a young John Hurt, his character, and other Allied forces, they're trying to stop these Nazis. The Nazis, in particular this guy named Rasputin, is trying to open this dimensional portal. There's a battle that happens. Rasputin has this assassin, this masked assassin that never speaks and has these twin blades. Pretty cool looking villain. Yes, it's PG-13, so you don't see much in terms of gore or impact. So yeah, it would have been nice if it was rated R, but I could still enjoy the film despite that. So during it, they mess up the portal. Rasputin gets pulled in. The portal is stopped, but something got out, and it's this little devil-like creature, which they name Hellboy. Red figure, looks kind of like a monkey, got this stone fist. They even take a picture of it. The effects on it is not the best, but it is 2004 when it came out. It's many years later. There's an organization that kind of leads into paranormal activities. We fight back against those dominions of evil. And of the crew, we got Hellboy himself, which, for what I understand, like even though it's so many years, they say it's kind of like he's a 20-some-year-old, so he has that kind of mannerism. Abe Sapien, David Hyde Pierce voices him. Dud Jones does the body movements. I thought they were really good makeup effect creations. They really did a nice job with the makeup effects. And the thing is, like, when you compare it to, like, Hellboy 2019, which, yes, that was gory, CGI gore. But that one, because of all the studio interference, even the director who did, same guy who did The Descent and Dog Soldiers, that director has mentioned how it was the worst experience he's had professionally because they kept messing with him. They wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do. Even the gore, like people assume he wanted the gore. He's like, no, they added that in because if I wanted gore, I wanted to be practical. So it's like people kept adding stuff in and went behind my back, and yeah, apparently it's a bad experience. And when you watch that film, the tone is very inconsistent. I mean, in that one, you go from, oh, here's this closet with, I swear it was like a bunch of dead kids hanging. But then, like 5, 10 minutes later, we have Hellboy chasing this pig that's possessed a baby. So he's a pig on a baby's body. And it's like a scene from Mouse Hunt or Baby's Day Out or Son of the Mask. Like Mouse's Son of the Mask, where he's chasing the CGI baby thing all across, like, very silly, goofy, ha ha ha. Here, the tone is much more consistent. They use practical effects as much as they can. And Ron Perlman just fit better. The way they wrote him, his mannerisms, the way he delivered his dialogue. He had a more calmer, cool factor. And I think he hit the humor better on his delivery, his timing compared to David Harbour. David Harbour, maybe because he was told to do so many different things, it's hard for him to find a smooth flow for his character. Here, things were much more comfortable, much more, I think, in control compared to that film. Like, Ron Perlman's a good fit. I like the look of Abe Sapien. I love the design. I love the makeup effects. Much better than whoever the hell they got in that new Hellboy. Was it the one cop? And then he later turned to this shitty looking CG cat thing, leopard, where the hell it was. And this Hellboy, yeah, you say maybe it's a bit more comedic in a way compared to the new one, but the same kind of fit, and there's more tooth than anything, like Hellboy loving cats. He's done this a lot of times, so they're on a job. Let me go in and say hi. What is that thing? I don't know, let me go ask. And I enjoy the action sequences. I think they had a decent length to them. And it's either Hellboy shooting at it or smacking it, or there's this guy who's supposed to be watching him, this Agent Myers, who he saves by hitting this car, and they use a real car to flip up and flip behind them. There's some decent practical effects. There's creatures, and there's CGI, but there's also some practical up close shots of these creatures, which help sell the scene more. It was nice to look at. If you don't do it, at least do a combination of the two, and not just all out CGI. So I do appreciate that. I would say watch it again. I do enjoy it. I like the cast. I like Del Toro's direction. I like some of the creativity of it. Do I wish it was R-rated? Yes. With this kind of movie, I think it would have been a nice benefit. Like Blade 2 or Mimic. It's a film that I think at times is trying to do a bit too much. So while I didn't think the film was boring, because it's a little over 2 hours, but I think it goes at a decent enough pace that either there's some Ron Perlman, enjoying his banter, enjoying his vibe as he's trying to either trust this new Agent Myers guy or trying to talk to Abe Sapien or trying to disperse his love to Selma Blair, who is this girl that can, with a rush of emotions, can cause fire, pyro, bit of pyromania there. the action scenes. There's been a subway station where you have some really good practical work. Like there's a bit where the monster throws Hellboy and he's on wires. You don't see what, but you did that. He's on wires when they were filming. He flies up, crashing through the up top part of the subway system. Or it's like they're both physically there. They got an actual man in a suit, really good looking suit, and tries to hit Hellboy and it misses. And Hellboy's like, "You missed." Talking smack to people. But it's one of those things that certain elements I think could have been amped up a bit more if maybe they didn't try to fit so many things into this. And what I mean by that is in one movie, we have to establish who Hellboy is. We have to establish who this new guy, Agent Myers, who I guess is supposed to be the audience's point of view, which I don't think you really needed that, because I think Hellboy, his point of view would have been interesting enough as an outsider, because a lot of us feel like outsiders and trying to fit in and stuff. I think that would have sufficed. Or hell, even Selma Blair would just hurt here. But you got to deal with Agent Myers and him trying to fit in. You got John Hurt's character who is dying, but he doesn't want to tell anybody else, but he tells Agent Myers. You got Selma Blair and what's going on with her, trying to deal with her powers. You got the whole thing where Hellboy thinks Agent Myers is in love with Selma Blair and he's pissed off about that. You have the introduction of the bad guys like Rasputin. Then you have of course, the assassin with the blades. You have these creatures that in the water, they're multiplying, so we have to try to stop that thing. It's like you don't get, for example, a lot of father and son development. So when John Hurt's character dies, I don't feel a big sense of loss for Ron Perlman's character, because it felt like they rarely had any scenes together. As clunky as it was, they did try to do more than the new Hellboy, where Hellboy's mouthing off more to his father and being a bit more of a brat. So while it's done a bit more annoying and they're still trying to do more, here I think there's a lot more of the father and son talk they could have done. Like I said, I can't think of really one meaningful conversation the two have with each other. Even just one. So again, when spoilers, I mean, this is a film from 2004, when John Hurt's character dies, I liked him as an actor, may he rest in peace, but it's just, I don't really feel much for his character because, or I get, not so much that, but I don't feel much connection that Hellboy had to his father. So that later on, when, things are ready to hit the fan, the shit's hitting the fan, Agent Myers like, remember who you are, and gives Hellboy a piece of his father's necklace or whatever, like crucifix or whatever. I think that impact's not as strong because, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of big emotional build-up between father and son. And I mean, I know the movie's already over 2 hours, but I think maybe don't have the Agent Myers character. I don't think the actor wasn't bad, but there's a reason why he was not in the second film, and I don't know if anybody really missed him. Or if they did miss him, he still the movie still worked fine without him, and that says a lot. That even if you took this main character out of the sequel, the film still worked fine. In fact, you could say was better. Because I might say I like Hellboy 2 more than the first. So, yeah, I think Agent Myers, I think all of his stuff could have been taken out. Uh, Granted, yes, you wouldn't have the Hellboy being jealous and staring at him and thinking he was taking his girl. But hell, it could be like another guy or a random roommate or something, and he's doing it, and she's like, "You need to stop that." And like Abe Sapien, I like the design. I think David Hyde Pierce did a good job with that voice acting. The fact that he gets wounded at one point, so he's taken out of the third act of the movie. I thought was a shame because I think you have this big battle and all this stuff happening, and it's like, man, we don't even have one of our main characters. Like that would have been cool to have Abe Sapien there than Agent Myers. And like I said, I know they say, well, we need a human's perspective. Do we really? And even then, it's like we have, what's his name? The guy who becomes sort of the main boss of the group, who he doesn't like Hellboy at first, but then he teaches him how to light a cigar the right way. Jeffrey Tambor. Good actor, Jeffrey Tambor, as Tom Manning. So, just one of those scenes where it tries to do a bit too much, so not everything is built up the best, or as well as it could have been. Just like you do get good moments, like okay, between Hellboy and Selma Blair, when Hellboy's saying, "I wish I could do something about this." I felt it. The way Ron Perlman delivered that line, and his body language, and Selma Blair trying to explain to him how that doesn't matter. It's one of those things where, like I said, yeah, there's a lot of movies I enjoy that don't have a big depth of emotion as well. But I actually see like the potential this could have, and I think while it's a pretty entertaining movie, it's got some good action set pieces. I like the bit when Hellboy fucks up the masked assassin, just punch him in the face, breaking the pieces of the mask more and more and more so, and impales the motherfucker. Then puts a big giant deer on him for good effect. I like Jeffrey Tambor as an actor, so it was nice to see him. You probably know this is going to get there, being predictable, but it was still nice that he kind of warms up to Hellboy and even teaches him how to smoke a cigar right. The end of the film, you have this big monster, Hellboy. Well, at first, Hellboy loves Selma Blair. Her spoilers, she's dead. Hey, you do this for me, and I'll give her soul back. Then very quickly, Agent Myers goes, "Remember who you are," and he like quickly remembers with like not much effort. It was like that quick. Then he breaks their horns off. Like, wow, that was really quick. Takes care of Rasputin. Big bad monster. Here's some grenades. Drops him down the throat. Blows up. It's not the most exciting, grandiose finale. Like, compared to a lot of other big superhero movies is what I'm talking about. I think Hellboy 2, the ending felt a bit more satisfying. A bit more... I think Hellboy 2, they worked out the little rust on the armor. They were able to fix that with the sequel. But this was a nice starting point to establish Ron Perlman being a very likable main hero with some nice collage of practical effects, some fun, entertaining action set pieces, some nice supporting roles from Abe Sapien and Jeffrey Tambor and such. Like I said, it tried to do a bit too much. I think they could have taken the Agent Myers character out and used that time to focus more on maybe a bit more of the father and son dynamic, maybe a bit more of some of the other stuff. Maybe a bit more of him and Abe Sapien kind of hanging out with each other. I don't know why you need. I mean, you don't need a human like John Hurt could be that perspective if that's the case, or again Jeffrey Tim, like all these other like Selma Blair even, where she has these powers but she doesn't want to be there, but then she has to be there, like agent like I don't know. It was still fun to watch. It's not one I rewatch a lot. I would put Blade 2 and Mimic above it for Del Toro stuff, but still a lot better than the new one. The tone's a bit more consistent. The humor I thought worked a bit better. The mix of practical made the action scenes less cartoonish, and other than the third act one, but the other acts he's less cartoonish and more satisfying with, oh wow, you felt a bit more of the stunt work because it's Del Toro knows what he's doing in those type of circumstances. And overall, still a pretty good film, still a pretty good movie. But I do think the sequel was able to be an improvement. That's why it would have been nice to see a third film and see what the culmination of that trilogy would be. But no, these films were never big box office hits. Obviously, this made a little bit of money to give a chance on a sequel, but the second one didn't do the best. Part of the reason was because the Dark Knight came out around the same time and obliterated the box office. And the other thing is just Hellboy was never a big moneymaker. People don't know the character much. Of course, there's always this excuse when neither people didn't know Guardians of the Galaxy as well, but that became a big hit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe timing, maybe just that time span of superhero movies, I don't know what to tell you, but it's how Hellboy is going to, some people are going to have a bug up their ass put in the theaters, especially in more Christian towns, whether it be in the South or other places of the country. Oh my god, we can't put a movie called Hellboy on there. It's sacrilege and all that stuff. But with that said, it's still a fun movie. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.